Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
Welcome back to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your host, Rob and
Randy.
And we are
the
Happy, Healthy Guys. Hey, today is the Real Talk segment of the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast. And today I think is going to be about having a conversation about why health is in the state that it is right now here, especially in the United States. And we were talking about this because we see it all the time. Is I think this country right now is just in a state of just not being aware. And two, I think it's even more prevalent is that people live completely unconscious when it comes to their health. And they're unconscious because they've been taught to be unconscious when it comes to their health because of just the way the entire system works. The entire system, the way it works is to treat a symptom and not ever get to the cause of the problem. And because of that, and because people aren't willing to confront things and ask better questions, they really just take things at face value. And I was listening to a conversation at a coffee shop that I was working out of this morning. And it's just crazy when you hear these different conversations. And the conversation went like this. There was a young lady, she was getting ready to fly. And because she doesn't like flying, she's whatever you call that phobia, she just doesn't like to fly. She has a fear of flying. Flyophobia. Yeah, I'm sure it's got to be called something. It may not be. We'll look it up in a second. But she didn't like flying, and so she had gone to her medical doctor, and her medical doctor had said, "Hey, you know what you need is you need to take some Ambien." And she said, "Okay, well, I don't want to feel groggy." And they go, "Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to also prescribe you some Adderall. So the Ambien's going to knock you out. Then when you wake back up so that you're not so knocked out and you can be ready to do whatever you're going to be doing once you get off the airplane is you'll take the Adderall because that's going to wake you back up and make you more alert." And as she said that, there was another gentleman at the table, and he started talking about how great Ambien was. And then he started talking about another drug that was similar to Ambien, but then better. And then the girl says, "Yeah, I've taken that before. It literally felt like my brain was being sucked out of my head. But after that, I felt great." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, that's what one of my buddies said. He had the same exact experience, but you feel so much better afterwards." Then another gal at the table starts talking about her Adderall and then how great her Adderall is for her as well. Now, these people are wonderful people. The problem was it was a completely unconscious conversation because nothing was talking about the cause. The problem being the first gal that was talking is the recommendation that she got and her health advice that she got was from her then medical doctor, which was treating a symptom and not getting to the cause of the problem. And the next thing you know, everybody at this table had become their own health advocates and were giving each other health advice. Another gentleman comes by a little bit later who is going through chemotherapy. Great guy. And again, just unconscious, unaware. And he starts talking about how he's he's going through chemo, and you could tell he was not having a great day. He's going through his chemo treatment. And in that same conversation, they're talking about, "Hey, this is Easter weekend. What are you going to be doing for Easter?" "Oh, the missus went out, bought a bunch of candy. We're going to do the eggs. We're going to have and they start talking about this feast all revolving around these sugary sweets, processed foods that they're going to be eating, all the same things that are contributing to the same causes of the cancer, but they're actually talking about more so as the chemo being the savior to all of this stuff." So I was just like, just the way we think as doctors of cause, I was like, are these real conversations that are happening? And these are also people that we've also had conversations with when it comes to health, because even within that same conversation, there was a gentleman that was talking about, well, that those things don't actually, they're just treating the symptoms, not getting to the cause of the problem. But they're great in the same exact sentence. I'm like, did he really just say that? So I think with that one conversation right there, we can unpack that in a lot of different directions. And, I used to have like a visceral, like an emotional response to those things.
I still do.
And yeah, so now my response is coming from a place of, just really loving people, loving humanity so much that I'm going to do whatever it takes to be able to make sure that we're teaching people, educating people, and really waking people the F up so that they can be able to truly understand what health really is, how to really get to the cause, how to really get to the cure. And so I say, let's unpack this conversation, because this isn't a conversation that's just happened in this one cafe this morning. This is a conversation that I guarantee happened in thousands of cafes this morning, where people are giving themselves health advice that couldn't even be further from health than anything on the planet.
Yeah. We could tell countless stories very similar to that. I'm going to tell one too, more recent, that I just went through. But what you just described, it's not only living life unconsciously, it's that whole unconscious incompetence, which means you have no idea that you have no idea. And I remember being that unconscious, incompetent person many, many years ago, because you just don't know what you don't know. But here's what I do know. And I think this is how, and you were obviously that person as well at some point. We were all born into a medicine cabinet and born into this medical model and basically taught to be on autopilot. That's essentially what it is. You're on autopilot. You're really not even thinking anymore about what you're doing. You're just going about your day, doing what you've always done, do what everybody's told you to do, parroting all the medical talking points that you hear on TV, that you heard from your doctor, that your Aunt Susie, who's a nurse, keeps regurgitating to you. You're just repeating everything you've always been told, yet you don't know why you believe any of it. And because you've done it for so long, it just gets baked into your daily routine. Yeah. And it's just this unconscious way of living, which we know if you look around and you look at our society, not even now, even in America, you look at the world, people are walking around living this way on autopilot, and the numbers don't lie. There's zero chance you're going to live your best life happy and healthy, drug-free, full of energy, free of disease, right? Not being depressed, being full of joy, peace, energy, and a sound mind. It's not going to happen. And so I'll give you an example to that point as we continue to talk about this issue of autopilot. So obviously I'm out in the dating world. I've been single now for about almost 6 years. And I got to tell you, man, it is rough out there, especially when you live intentionally in your life. So I'm on this date, meet this girl. We meet up for coffee. You know the story. I won't bore the audience too long with it, but it was, we meet up for coffee and, just trying to get to know somebody. And we sit down and we order coffee. And of course, I'm watching what people order and I'm looking around. Of course, the girl that I'm on the date with, she orders a coffee, but she gets a latte, and she gets a latte with just this 2% conventional milk that they have there at the coffee shop. Not that big a deal, but maybe it is a big deal because conventional milk is loaded with hormones, antibiotics, and pus. And so when you put that toxic concoction into your body, there are consequences. And I'll circle back to tell you why all of this is making sense of why we're living unconsciously. So that starts off the date there. Then we sit down, and before I could even get another word out, she's reaching across me to grab the packet, the yellow packet, which is
Splenda.
The Splenda, as she rips that package open. And I'm like, hey, why don't you just have the real sugar? Why are you using the artificial one? Because I want to. Okay.
Great reason.
I was just trying to figure out, were you doing that because you think it's healthier? Were you doing that to like cut your calories? I just was trying to figure out why she did it because I know how toxic it is. Yet for her, this is what she does. So she rips open that Splenda, pours it into her coffee. And of course, we know Splenda degrades into chlorine, very toxic to your body and your immune system. It also disrupts your gut and it affects your hormones. Okay, so you've got hormone antibiotic laced milk. You've got hormone disrupting Splenda. And then before she orders her food, she goes, I need to go to the bathroom. And so she goes to the bathroom and she's back in like way too quickly to have used the bathroom. I'm like, wow, that was quick. She goes, oh yeah, I just wanted to go to the bathroom to wash my hands before I eat anything because I don't want to spread germs. And so now she goes to the bathroom and God knows what soap's in there because we know all conventional soap is loaded with forever chemicals, endocrine hormone disrupting chemicals, along with triclosan, which is an antibacterial that furthermore destroys your gut microbiome. Then she gets back to the table and now she orders her food and she orders toast, which isn't suitable for the human gut, loaded with glyphosate, loaded with phytic acid and all the refined processed grains that further disrupt the gut and the hormone profile. And then she reaches over and opens up the packet of the margarine at the table. It wasn't butter because I already picked it up and looked at it when she went to the bathroom. And it's this margarine product she's spreading all over this processed toast as she washed her hands with the chemicals, as she put the chemicals into her coffee and loaded up with the hormone disrupting milk. And this is 5 minutes into the date. And I'm thinking, awesome. And I'm thinking, man, holy crap, I am undateable. Because this girl was so beautiful. I mean, she's a beautiful woman and she loves the Lord. And I'm like, man, I've got to make this work. And within 5 minutes, I'm already like fading out of the whole situation because I'm like, dang, this girl lives on autopilot. Mm-hmm. She doesn't even know. She has no idea that she has no idea. And I tell you all that because she kept talking to me about how bad and how disrupted her hormones are and how she goes to her doctor. They run these labs. They tweak hormones. They give her this. They give her that. So she's hormonally erect, unexplained weight gain that she's dealt with. And she's doing everything she can to destroy her entire microbiome and hormone profile as she goes to her doctor
I have a question.
to get more medical advice. This is insane. And
I have so many questions.
Are these, should we, I mean, this is a real talk episode.
Absolutely. So my question,
you're happy to ask.
I'm just curious because listeners are probably wondering, okay, so in a scenario or a situation like this, all right. So did you educate her there at the table on all of the things that she just did on autopilot? And I want to know how that actually went.
Trust me, I wanted to, but first date, you're just trying to get off the starting block, give her a chance, maybe get to a second date. She really was beautiful. And after the coffee, we went to church together, had our second date at church.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I'm looking for a great woman and she is a great, and not that she's not a great woman. She is a great woman, but I'm like, man, this is what's insane in our society is we literally live in this unconscious autopilot drug culture. And that is what's really sad. And of course it makes it really hard to hitch your wagon to a man like me, potentially, not the right person, not so much. But I guess I was craving and hoping in my heart. I guess I didn't even get a sense that there was even an openness to want to grow or learn in that area because you still don't even know that there's an issue. And I don't know how many dates it would have taken to get to that point. All that to be said.
Did you tell her we actually had a program that she could do and maybe she could get to baseline?
Yeah, we do have a metabolism program that helps women balance their hormones, but she really didn't ask a lot of questions about what I do. So
okay, so that's a whole different issue as far as the relationship thing goes. So got it.
Yeah, so this could be a relationship podcast that maybe we should do one day. It'll be all the things you don't want to do.
Yeah, we are not qualified to do that.
Definitely give you that. But on a serious note, I'm telling that story with all sincerity, not to besmirch her or she is a great person. And the people that you were talking about, I know exactly the people you were talking about today at this coffee shop.
Wonderful people.
Wonderful people. But these are people that are not living their best life. They are literally living on autopilot. They're in the drug culture. And these are the people that don't make it. They don't end up living the life that God intended. And so I think a lot of times it just boils down to just being in a place where you just really, really haven't been woken up. And I think in this culture, in the day and age we're in, Dr. Robin, I think you said it, this is why we do what we do. We have to wake people up, not because we have all the answers, not because we're right about everything, but there is a level of consciousness that for whatever reason, God allowed us to come into many years ago that has changed our entire life. And because of that has allowed us to help impact people in a way that really outside of salvation, if I'm just going to be honest, there isn't a bigger impact when you know what health is and you know how to live life within those laws of health. Because the facts are the world and the universe is governed by a set of laws. And whether you follow these laws or you don't follow these laws don't give a damn whether you believe in them or not. It is the way God created this earth. And so I think our job, one of our jobs is to wake people up and really share with them the laws of health and teach them the truth about health and healing. And this is a huge part of making the change in your life. Some people ask, where do I start? We just came off this massive, massive challenge, this metabolic kickstart challenge that we do several times a year. What probably half of the challenge was working on what?
Beliefs.
The mindset.
You're shifting mindset, right? We talked about 4 mindset shifts that you need to make. The first one being is really shifting your belief and asking yourself better questions, right? And the question is, and let's say this is the question that I'd say that we should ask right now. And you said a couple of things, and I was just taking notes on what it is that you said. You said, outside of a relationship with Jesus Christ, we need to be focused on our health and wellness. And I would even take it a step further and say, hey, you know what? That is really the answer, is just having and call it whatever it is that you want. This isn't a religious conversation. Sure. Having a Christ consciousness, okay? Or having a God consciousness that God created us.
Yes.
God created us all in his image. And if he created us all in his image, my belief is that's not an image that is about sickness, about disease, about not being well. My image is that's an image of health and healing and repair and joy and happiness. And if that right there is true, and we even uncover it further, right? 1 John 4, was it 4? 4. Yeah, that says, greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. He who is in you, that Christ's consciousness is a healing consciousness inside there. Yeah. And so if that's greater than everything, then that means it's greater than Adderall. It's greater than Ambien. It's greater than chemotherapy. It's greater than all of those things. So I would say the first question you ask yourself is, do I really have a belief in that Christ consciousness and that healing power that is inside my body? And if you do have that belief, then you better take a look at all of the things that you're doing that are interfering with that healing power inside your body. And that right there is really what we talk about in our challenge from the very beginning. Because if you don't change that mindset, you're going to be looking at all of the answers that are not within. You're going to be looking for all of the answers that are on the outside, right? Which is going to be the Ambien, the medications, the chemo, all of those different things. Why not look to the inside first? Yeah. And you always hear, theoretically speaking, everybody always tells you, even with mindfulness practices right now, they're all say, hey, the answer is inside you. And people are like, oh yeah, I just need to meditate more to be able to find the answer inside me. Yeah. Well, if you believe that, then freaking do it. Because they might say, hey, I meditated all morning. And the next thing you know, that same person that meditated all morning to get that answer from within, the healing from within, is out Walgreens getting Theraflu because they have the sniffles. The same person that goes to church and is listening to all the things that we're talking about right now, and you follow that person's car outside of the church parking lot and it's headed directly to Cracker Barrel to interfere with all of what it is that they just...
No real butter at Cracker Barrel, by the way. Trust me, I know. Yeah, all seed oil. Well, my favorite quote, one of my favorite quotes from B.J. Palmer is, we've moved more faith into a teaspoonful of medicine than the power that made the human body. You said it, Dr. Rob. We are fearfully and we are wonderfully made. And also, like you said, that's not even a religious statement.
No.
That is a absolute fact. It is a kingdom principle. It's an immutable law. In fact, I'm going to read another quote here. I think you'll like this one. I'll pull this one out of the archives here. This is good. This is another quote from B.J. Palmer out of the book Giant versus Pygmy. It's about the laws of health. And this is why these are matter-of-fact absolutes. But it says, does man improve law by scoffing at it, calling it a cult by what he does as he does it? Or does the law continue to live in spite of him who scoffs because of what it continues to do as it does it? A little bit wordy, a little bit heady. The point is, whether you believe in the laws that God created around health, the law doesn't care because the law is what it is. It's kind of like we give the example. If you, let's say you got on top of the Empire State Building and before you're like, I'm going to jump off this building. And before you jump off the building, you start getting yourself in a meditative state. All right. And you're meditating on, I don't believe in the law of gravity. Gravity is not real. I don't believe in the law of gravity. I don't believe in the law of gravity. And then you go 1, 2, 3, jump. And then the law of gravity goes, yeah, I really don't care if you believe in me or not, because you just broke the law. And this law says when you break it, you're going to keep falling. I don't care how much you pray or meditate or how much organic food that you eat, you're breaking a law and there are consequences. The point being, and that may be extreme, but the point is we're breaking little laws of health all day long and then blaming the outcome on some bad poker hand, like we got bad genetics or it came out of nowhere or we're getting older or, doctor says this runs in my family. All the nonsense that we hear regurgitated to us. Listen, they're all laws of health. And the beautiful law that you talked about is 1 John 4:4. Greater is he. The greatest doctor is on the inside of all of us. And I think when I really anchored to that, and I did, I anchored to that. And of course, that anchor was really put to the test when I was diagnosed with late stage cancer. But even up to that point, when I finally anchored to that the greatest doctor in the world is on the inside of me and that health is the norm and disease is the abnorm, this is what allowed me to start asking better questions and getting to better results. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know that anchor for you has also helped propel you to this point with both of us to really not just be convinced or convicted. We're unshakable when it comes to knowing what health really is and honoring those laws that God created.
Yeah, that's when you really truly have no fear.
Yeah.
Okay. No fear when it comes to sickness, illness, and disease. And if you look at all of the religions out there, that belief is universal within all religions out there.
Yeah.
And that is that the greatest doctor is within. The answers are within, regardless of what it is that your belief is, right? And so I know even in biblically speaking in the Bible, here's one of the things that actually really ties this together is faith without works is death. So just like you said, I can have faith in the fact that I'm going to fly, but if I jump off that Empire State Building, I'm going to go splat, right?
Yeah.
So I better, when it comes to my health, be doing the work. I need to have faith in the fact that my body can be able to heal from above, down, inside out. But I also better make sure that I'm doing the work necessary to back that faith up. Okay. So you can have faith in the fact that this chair right here is going to hold me up, right? But that faith is then tested by the work of just sitting down. I've got to do something in order to test that faith. So people are really testing that faith just over and over. Like you said, it comes back to that unconscious incompetence. Let's take sugar, for example.
Okay.
So if we're going to give somebody something practical that you can do, and with it being Easter weekend coming up, understand this, is that sugar hits the exact same dopamine receptors in the brain as cocaine. It's highly addictive. it's as addictive as all the opiate medications. It hits that same center of your brain. That's why you start craving it like crazy. Now you're craving it, you're eating more of it. It creates this visceral fat that we talk about that you don't want inside your body. Why? Because you are breaking laws of health. It's not a matter of if that's happening, right? It's just a matter of how and when it's going to lead to something much bigger, because the effects are cumulative over time. If you want to do yourself a favor, stay away from the refined sugars, because now it's not going to hit those dopamine receptors. When people say, hey, you know what? I really crave sweets. The reason you crave sweets is because you're eating sweets, because you're eating the refined sugars. And it doesn't give you permission to, like you were talking about with the young lady eating the artificial sugars, because what they're saying is that they have the same hormonal effect on your hormone system as if you put sugar in there. And the research and the tests and the studies that they do with these no-calorie sugars are showing that you're still getting insulin spikes, because it's hitting the same receptors, which then creates an increase in cortisol, which then it creates an increase in this adipose, this visceral fat that we're talking about, that then creates more cravings. And it's just this whole thing that's happening. And why? Because that's how God created our body. That's how we were created. And that's the way the system works.
Yeah, man takes everything God made and really adulterates it and bastardizes it and makes it appear right on the surface that, hey, this is better, this is good, it's fine, you're only doing on occasion, you're going to be okay, don't worry about it. It's all those things that they do to package it and deliver it, especially to children. Yet in the Bible, it also says there's a way that seems right to a man, but in the end, it's the way to death. That right there is the real talk, because, man, you said it right there in the Bible. When we're talking about this, God did make us to be healthy. He does give us laws that govern health. And it doesn't mean that you have to be perfect.
No,
I don't want to be
we're
that
not saying
fragile, but but that goes back to being not living life with intention and not being unconsciously going through life, because what happens is Easter becomes the next day after Easter. And then the next day after Easter after that. And then before you know it, you're just living every single day unconsciously doing these things. You didn't say not eat sugar. You just said eat the sugar that God made. It's called fruit. Yeah. It's called raw honey. It's not called high fructose corn syrup. I mean, the sugar in a Cadbury egg is not the same sugar in an organic apple.
For me, it was the sugar in the Reese's peanut butter cup egg. Those things are different than the regular peanut butter cups. So yeah, it became, okay, it was Easter, I'm going to have one or two of those things. But you know what? That bag is still in the house. And you can make dang sure, because of now the addictive properties inside there, guess what I'm now craving for the next week? Yeah. That bag will be gone. So how do I not do that? I just don't freaking eat it, because I know myself. I have an awareness. I have a consciousness about myself to not actually eat the Reese's peanut butter cup egg.
Yeah, no,
don't do it.
Living with intention. In fact, my thing I've been saying to me, and it's really been the word that I felt like that I need to say when I feel like I want to break those laws of health, and not even just in the nutritional space, with my lifestyle, maybe thoughts that aren't as healthy for me, just whatever those things are, all the things that we can be attacked with in our mind. I go back to, no, you're a godly man. No, you're a godly man. And a godly man stands up for what's right. He fights for what's right. He lives life with intention. He doesn't ever back down. He doesn't care if the whole world is against him. If it's right, he wants to do everything it takes to perpetuate that message. I just want to live in a world and in a life where I don't let things from the outside move and sway me to things that aren't in alignment with my core values and my principles and who God made me to be. And I think once I really, really anchor to that, and I really remember who God made me to be, there's a purpose on my life, your life, and all of our lives. It really gives me accountability to go, you know what? All these are the things that you think make you happy that are really short-sighted, whether it's food or sex or pleasure or, whatever those things can be. And they're all out there. At the end of the day, they really are a poison. They're not God's plan, and they aren't really living life thinking above outside of getting outside of today. It goes back to you. A lot of us live, when you're unconsciously living, you live in that Maslow's hierarchy of needs. It's a rodent mentality. A rat doesn't wake up today and go, you know what? I'm really thinking about being a great grandfather rat. I really want to leave a legacy for my baby rats. You know, I really want to make an impact in the rat community. A rat wakes up and goes, you know what? How do I find food, shelter, water, procreate, and not die today? It is a high stress, low level way of thinking. And unfortunately, this drug, medical, unconscious incompetence culture, it almost trains us, Dr. Rob, to walk around like a bunch of rodents and rats and not living up to our birthright, which is made in God's image and giving us dominion over everything, living in these laws that God created and knowing who we are. I'm not going to live as a rat or a rodent because God made me more than that. I've got a better future, and I really believe my future is way better than where I am today. I don't want to live that way.
I don't either. I'm glad you brought this up because it just got me thinking about this. I was looking at this as we're talking about this Christ consciousness or this elevated consciousness. We're looking right now at a map of consciousness, okay? And it talks about the energy associated. There's energy with all of these different consciousnesses, right? This is why if you're around somebody, for example, and I had this happen recently a few weeks ago where I was around this person where I was like, man, there was just really dark energy around this person, and you can feel it. If you've ever, you can feel it, right? Yeah. And so the highest level in this map that we're looking at is enlightenment. That would be God. That is this higher level of consciousness. But as I brought this up because I was curious, if you go all the way at the bottom of this map of consciousness, literally at the very bottom of it, it says the bottom of it is desire, or in the predominant emotional state is craving. It's craving those things, because when you crave those things, as opposed to enlightenment where you're 100% complete, you're craving because you feel like you're not complete, right? Yeah. And so that is such a low level of energy. Ooh. So I think it brings us back to, and you go at the top it goes enlightenment, then you have peace, joy, and love, which is great. Those are all at the very top. At the bottom, you've got desire, but right above this is crazy because craving is at the lowest. Right above craving is anger. The predominant emotional state of anger is hate. Craving is even below that. Then you've got pride or scorn. Then you've got above that, you've got courage, and then it starts going up. But this right here makes it very real, and it just makes me feel like, you know what? Our mission and our purpose is really to empower and equip people to get to a higher level of consciousness, which really truly is the happy, healthy life.
Dude, I'm so glad you brought this out because this is crazy. I hadn't even told you this. I've been listening more to music at that 528 hertz, which is between joy and love, because at that frequency, that's love and joy. And your brain actually detoxes through the lymphatic system, and you increase your hormone profile. Specifically for men, you increase testosterone, because for a man to operate in joy and love, you want to have a clear mind and you want to be strong. So that is so cool that you just brought this up. So that, those music and frequency and vibration, sound, light, all the healing arts, the healing arts aren't reductionist. They're not parts and pieces and machines and cut this out and put this in and drug that up. It's a completely different way of looking at it. It is knowing, it's the highest level of consciousness, is knowing who you are and who God made you to be, and that you're not lacking anything, that God did not leave anything out when he made us. Isn't that great? That's the real talk, bro. He didn't leave out one single thing. He made us complete. He gave us everything we needed, which has been our message now for going over 20 years, is that God does not need help healing you. God needs no interference. Stop praying for more healing. Pray for the wisdom to know how to stop breaking the laws of health, stop getting in the way of what God's already done. The miracle's already been performed. He breathed life into us. That is no joke. That is real. You are made in his image. If you can ever get that and anchor to that, you ask better questions, life is better. That is the real talk, my brother.
I love it. I think that's a great place for us to close the Real Talk segment of the Happy Healthy Life today. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you want to do us a favor, is help us to be able to get others to an elevated state of consciousness when it comes to their health by sharing the show, like it, comment, review it. That helps us to be able to help more people, and we appreciate that. We love you. We received a letter, and we receive letters all the time from people just thanking us. And the one thing that the person said in the letter was, the more I listen to your podcasts, the more I look at the website, the more I actually put the things that you guys say into action in my life. That's that faith without works is death. Putting that into action, the more I see that you guys are right. And so, you know what? From an ego perspective, that feels good. But the reality is that, you know what? We're not the ones that are right. It's that Christ consciousness. God is the one that's right. All we're doing is trying to be the very best godly men, like you said, as possible, to be able to allow that consciousness to guide us. And that really is our prayer for us. So if you guys would pray even for us to make sure that we're allowing God to guide us, to be able to be lights, to be able to share that with you, that would also be something that would really be honoring to us if you would do that.
That's good, man. Thanks for sharing that letter. So cool that, we're old school, man. Getting the actual letter versus the email. There's just something different about that. So thank you for that letter. We won't mention the name, but we sure appreciate that. Yeah, well said, man. This is the real talk. The faith without works is dead. That's really the non-biblical version of that. Is information without application is hallucination. Information is only valuable if you do something with it. So anyway, we want to keep sharing. Guys, remember, we're doing 2 podcasts a week now. This is actually recording on Good Friday. What an incredible weekend to celebrate and be so thankful for everything that God has blessed us with. I love it. I'm so excited to be with my family. We hope and pray you're with your family, your friends, and your loved ones. We'll be back soon. We love you very much. And we will talk very soon. God bless. Real talk.
And a happy Easter.
Happy Easter.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life, or on YouTube and Facebook at The Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.